Welcome to the Capital Life Podcast. I am your host, Abby Pagud. This is where we talk about all the things that life brings, the good, the bad, and of course, the healthy. And today's episode is called You'll Never Know. And we have the amazing Dr. Karen Molano on our episode for Keeping It Real with Real People. So welcome to the Capital Life, Karen.
Thank
or should
you.
I say Dr. Karen?
Whichever's fine. Whatever feels good to you.
See, and that's what I love about Karen, because she's not the typical almighty, I've got like a God complex issue with her doctorness. She is like as real as you can get it. She loves holistic approaches to life, holistic approaches to healing. And she really just looks for that. I don't know how to say it, like that love life balance and just shining your light. So I'm really glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you. You said that so well.
Oh.
I better.
I get squirrely. I think it's my spinny chair.
I love spinny chairs. They're the best.
I say I could solve the world. Just give me my tea and a spinny chair and some snacks, and I could solve all the world's problems. But anyway.
This episode of The Capital Life is brought to you by Watley HR. Personalize your human resources experience and get the structure, policies, and guidance you need to optimize your organization's HR performance. You can't be expected to be an expert in everything. So go to watleyhr.com and maximize your performance.
Let's face it, the world moves fast. Your growth and healing deserve a space that moves with you. That's why we started the Capital Community, a place for people who want to understand themselves more deeply and stay connected to their evolution. Each month, we explore the emotional and energetic pulse many of us are navigating, helping life make a little bit more sense. Inside the community, you'll also find guided meditations, reflections, and wellness insights that help you reconnect with your body and steady your mind. We bring in new voices and conversations that expand how we see ourselves, our health, and the world around us. And don't forget Soul Talks with Abby, where we open the wisdom window and explore real experiences together. Want to learn more about the Capital Community? Visit capitalhealth.com and explore the place where growth keeps unfolding. At just $26 a month, join the Capital Community, where wisdom grounds you and awareness helps you rise. Please like, share, and rate us on whatever platform you're listening. It's how we start to really spread the message of good in the world that needs it so much right now.
If you find this helpful or insightful, don't forget to connect with us on Facebook and YouTube at Capital Health. That's KAPITOL Health. Also, visit us at capitalhealth.com and subscribe to our newsletter and get wicked awesome updates. So I really love having you on today because we're really focusing this month's theme on balance, getting kind of stuck into our traditional habits that kind of affect our way of being. And it's really about that time, like we're getting so much of the world calling us to act and start creating and seeking our change that needs to be done. And you are just tremendous. I mean, so your background's in child psychology, working with kids, parents, and families. You and I met at a seminar in Chicago and just kicked it off right off of the gate, which we can talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I wanted my listeners to hear, I go through a vetting process with all of my people, and I knew your vibration and your frequency was totally what this episode needed. But then I didn't have your words and your voice yet in my head. And then as soon as I read some of your answers to my forum, which is my vetting process, I just really loved how this was said. And I thought it was so interesting. I'm going to read this for everybody. And it says, I want your listeners to be more curious about life and to want to learn more about how to make everyday shifts that can dramatically change the course of their lives and help them reach any dream they have ever imagined. To live a life by intent versus by default. I would love for your listeners to realize that they are much more in control of all aspects of their lives than they give themselves credit for. I think you sum that up in so many levels. How is your approach with people different than some of the other doctors out there?
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, I believe that everything is connected. Everything. And we live in a world where everything is incredibly disconnected. We're constantly disconnecting from the things that don't feel good, whether it's emotional health. If an emotion doesn't feel good, we disconnect with it from it. We don't want anything to do with it. If we go to the doctor, we're treating a symptom and not the root cause. And so when we're constantly disconnecting, we miss the bigger picture. We miss the ability to really tap into this energy, this vibration, this frequency that has the power to heal us, to move us forward, to get us where we want to get to. And so instead of finding those answers of, okay, I want to get over this thing, we end up blocking ourselves even more so.
So much.
Yes.
And my thing is, for a lot of people, it's like, I get a lot with my clients, where they are, you go into a health assessment, and I do a lot of I always do the history review before giving any advice, because one of my biggest pet peeves in my industry are people that are saying, oh, you should do this back exercise, or you should eat this. And it's like, you don't even know anything about that effing person. What are you even thinking? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. Like, you need to know more about their health history before you can really dive in and understand. And then the other thing that I get from people is predominantly oh, I know what my problem is. Like, I've got it. I know what my problem is. And a lot of times I say, okay, that's fantastic. Why don't you tell me what that is and why? And then I will let you know if that's an issue. And so I feel like a lot of people get a lot of preconceived notions on how they should be, and not really having the education behind it. And so therefore it's like, you can't make some of those solid decisions, or wondering why something's not working for you, or why you keep having this problem, until you can get to more understanding it. Because there's so many variabilities that happens with the body, especially the brain alone.
We have a lot of blind spots. That's for sure. I can tell you that no matter how much knowledge I have, I can help find your blind spots really fast. Right. But when I look in the mirror, crap, I'm stuck. Right?
I think that's how it always is. Our own reflection's a little bit difficult. But
so it's go ahead. Spots. Like we live with these blind spots because we are living in this automatic, unconscious world where everything's on automation. Our thoughts, our feelings, they're on automate. And so we don't even notice some of those blind spots and what's blocking us, because we're just used to it.
Do you have particular like strategic ways that you work with people, like that's that you've made your own uniqueness over your years of experience? Because how long have you been in the industry now? It's been quite some time.
Right, about 20, a little over 20 years.
Okay.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but yes.
Yeah.
I actually created a method. I call it the Lumi Top method. And in that method, I take 8 different dimensions of health and I bridge them together to form and create a lifestyle, as opposed to a technique or a way of doing or being. It's more a way of living. And so you incorporate different dimensions of health into this lifestyle. And I do it in a way that it makes sense for you, because I don't believe there is anything as a one size fits all, or do this one thing and it's going to work for you, because it really makes a difference where you're at, and really starting where you're at and being okay with that.
Right.
And going from there.
Yeah.
And so in that method, I do it in a way that is going to fit your lifestyle, and in a way where it's going to be sustainable. Because the minute that we start trying to do all these things and we don't achieve what we believe we're supposed to achieve, we give up very quickly.
Right. So true. So true. How did you get into the industry in the first place? Like, what was there somebody in your family member? Was it just the fascination when you started taking classes in school? Like, what kind of paved you into that direction?
That is a great question. I'm still not quite sure. When I was 5, I remember being 5 years old very vividly and thinking 2 things. I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to have a child. I would just voice this out all the time. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to have a kid. And so over time, eventually when it was time to declare my major in college, I remember my dad really wanted me to declare a major. I don't freaking know what I want to do yet. I have no idea.
Right.
So I lied and I said, I'm just going to declare a biology major. I don't know. I made it up just so that my parents
something in sciences that kind of fit into the window of the
just let me figure it out, please. I don't know. And so when the first semester of college, I took classes in various schools and I just fell in love with psychology. I was fascinated by psychology. And from that first semester, I took a couple of classes and that was it. I fell in love and I declared my major very quickly and I stuck with it. And I love kids. I always have. It's also another interesting story because it was either going to be forensic psychology or children. So super completely opposite.
A totally different subject. Wow.
Yes. But it makes sense to me now because in forensic psychology, it's a lot of just trying to figure out, the mind and what's going on in some of these really weird situations. Like, think of
like amazing stories for books, but like not really leaving you with a healthy brain afterwards for living.
Right. So what I realized I've taken, what I loved about the forensic psych piece was the curiosity of the trying to understand and break things down. And so I brought that curiosity into working with kids over the years. I just got really tired of things either taking really long to work or not working. It's like, how much more therapy can we throw at these kids? And I'm not seeing a massive change, or it's really slow. It just didn't feel right to me, like something was missing. And so I'm always very curious. Like, you tell me I can't do something and I'll be more likely to go find a way.
The only time I have a hard time with that, right? Because so like when we met at Shamina Taylor's seminar, which like I didn't realize it was one of her first events, like one of her beginner events. So like we're now part of the OG squads of the Shamina group, like junkies, like so. But like what I loved about it is that one, not only that it brings so many different minded people, but all looking and striving for almost like the same aspect of, self-healing and self-worth and self-growth and, it's that wealth consciousness. And it's not saying wealth consciousness within a financial standpoint, but more wealth conscious from like within. What does wealthy look like to you? Like, and where is it fulfilling, and working on those things. And where I go with this is that one of the hard things that I've still processed and I'm still processing to this day is the concept of like, if we're doing something that's almost out of vengeance, it's not necessarily connected to something good and pure, and it creates a hindrance from within. Yes. And the reason why I have a hard time with this is because when someone tells you not to do something or that you can't, there's that like, oh, bitch, you're going to get it. Like, I have to prove you wrong. And that's a very similar vibration as a vengeful, like, almost like I'm going to get you back type of way. And so I feel like that one was really hard for me to like allow to sink into my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, so much of my drive and will in my life has been to prove something, right? And to do, to get to that next level. Or when someone thought, oh, you're only 5 foot, 100 and whatever pounds, like, oh no, that's not for you, or you can't do that. And it was like, oh no, you bet your ass I may be tiny, but I'm feisty, right? Like and it was so interesting because in my book at the end, when she like wrote down, like she literally made an individual, like she channeled every single person's messaging, which was very fun to watch in person. Cause I mean, I'm a channeler, I do message delivery myself, but at the same time, I've never done it in a mass scale to which she did, which was very impressive to watch. But also what I really loved was that in my book, what she wrote is that you have nothing to prove. And I was like, yep. Okay. Tear wagon, here we go.
And I love that you bring this up, because it was something I had to face myself, because you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And so over the years of thinking exactly that, I'm like, wait a minute, am I doing this because I'm trying to prove something, or am I doing it because it feels good within me?
Right.
And so that curiosity over the years has shifted from me, because it did used to be, no, I'm going to do this anyway.
Right.
And you're right, that's not the vibration or the alignment. It doesn't bring you the same wholesome, good feeling. And you just can tell, you start to really differentiate when you're doing something out of alignment and when you're doing it out of vengeance.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Right.
and it also, and I think it makes a really big difference too, is that like when somebody's jumping into it, like was that doing of what you're trying to prove, was that a distraction from your true purpose, or was it actually in alignment with your purpose, but you went about it the wrong way? And that may be why some things didn't pan out the way that it should have, and might need some reevaluation on it. So I always kind of look internally when it comes to that, especially when it comes to like utilizing your gifts. And one of the things I love that you always point out is, connecting to your life source, connecting to your gifts, and paying attention to your gift, like actually taking the time to notice your gifts that surround you is like such a, it's just the right way to kind of go about your being, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I think that when you shift to curiosity, so an example would be when a doctor told me I couldn't have babies. I was like, this can't be it. I know
Right.
that I am meant to do more and do all I want. And that's where you have to sit with yourself. And I think of emotions as messengers. So even when you're
Right.
feeling that vengeance of, ooh, I've got to do this thing, it's just a message. I think
Right.
of emotions as coming up to your door, and they knock and they're like, hi, I have a message for you. And you're like, well, am I
This
gonna
actually
open the
bothers you quite a
door?
bit. You might
Oh,
need to
good.
deal with it.
Good. I'm going to keep the door shut. And so it'll come and it'll knock louder. Hello, I said I have a message.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to open the door. I'm just going to keep the door shut. So it'll start breaking your windows, and it'll start knocking harder and harder until you finally listen to the message. So over time, it just builds and builds, and it'll keep coming up in different themes, in different areas of your life, whether that be relationships, business, whatever it is. It'll just keep coming up until you listen. And so when you have those emotions, one thing I do daily, the minute I have an emotion that does not feel good, it feels uncomfortable within me, instead of trying to brush it away and pretend like everything's fine. I know sometimes I think when we're doing this work, I like to call it spirit our way through it. We're like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm fine. I can like connect and let go of the emotion and everything's good. Because no, you actually, there's nothing wrong with it. Just
Right.
feel it and listen to it and allow the message to come through. Just don't sit with it and wallow in it.
Right.
You know something? If you're listening to these conversations and thinking, yeah, I want more spaces like this in my life, that's exactly why we built the Capital Community. It's where we keep the conversations going, exploring the emotional and energetic pulse of life, sharing tools for growth, bringing in new perspectives, and opening up the wisdom window during Soul Talks with Abby. If that sounds like your kind of space, you can learn more about it at capitalhealth.com. It's the place where growth keeps unfolding. At just $26 a month, come join the Capital Community, where wisdom grounds you and awareness helps you rise.
And it's interesting because I like, one of the things I notice a lot is like, especially with parenting, like our generations have evolved from one generation to the next. We're supposed to improve and get better. But at the same time, it's like, you get to that point in your life where you start reflecting backwards from where you came in your childhood, and like the perceptions or even the stories that you told yourself to kind of get you through that time in your life. And it served you. But then at some point you grow out of it and it's time to release it. And it's like, oh, actually, we got to fix that because now it's becoming a hindrance for my growth. Right. And I feel like, a lot of times, like I come from the generation where you were supposed to be seen and not heard. You were supposed to be, pick up, like you didn't really get to complain about your emotions a lot. You had to like tough it out. right? Like no pain, no gain, like that type of era. And one of the things I really pride myself on, and what I do with my children, is really focusing on how, my son will go through an emotional reaction and he'll almost just instinctively want to run and sprint up the stairs and like hide under his mat. Like he's got one of those loft beds. So like he'll go and grab his blanket, just like want to hide under there. And that's what he used to do when he was little. And so I used to go up and I'd check on him and I'd be like, hey buddy, we don't have to spend the whole day this way. I was like, I know you're upset. When you're ready to talk about it, like, I'm right downstairs, come on out. We can work it out together. Now it's kind of one of those things where he's older. He's hitting 7.5, like about to be 8. And so we kind of walk through, is this a 1 problem or a 5 problem? Like 3, 4, like 1 through 3, like 1's really not a big deal. 2, okay, your feelings are hurt, but at the same time, you can still keep your composure. 3, you're starting to get agitated. 4 really hits you into, hey, this is actually kind of serious. By all means, like, go through the feels. 4, we'll kind of rank those things out. But at the same time, I also ask him what that ranking is for him, because I don't want him being told what that emotional response is, because then he can't work through his he has to work through his emotions. 2 is we'll work through, okay, I can see that you're feeling angry right now. Mm-hmm. How do you, what is it that was causing you to feel angry? Like what brought up those what happened to make you feel that way? And it could have been something as, you weren't listening to me. Okay, my apologies. Let me take the time right now. We're talking, like, go ahead, please share what your feelings were. And then we'll peel it out. But a lot of parents, like, our society is so busy and so overdone and overtired and overtaxed and oversensitized that they don't have a lot of the emotional output to walk a child through those emotions. Like, so many times we've all seen the women that have their children having a freaking meltdown in the middle of the grocery store. And then there's like, not once did they go down to the kid to say, sweetheart, what is it you're trying to say? Or what do you need right now? Instead, it's, and then they have to grab the child and hustle them out or get them to quiet, or they let them scream and tantrum or whatever. And it's like, a lot of time, I never did that with my kids. I always, like, if something was going on and they was like, hold on, do we need to have a discussion? It didn't matter if we were in a crowded space. I would just create a bubble for us. And then I see you, what's going on, and then there's only maybe 2 or 3 times that I actually had to pick my kid, walk out of a store. And that was usually because it was just, he's 2, 3, like, in that I can't speak my words. And so I just removed him from the environment because it was too overstimulating. Mm-hmm. And then once we went outside, we sat and talked it through. Then we went back into the store. So but I don't see that. I see people making improvements, but I don't feel like enough people have the tools to do that. Do you see that?
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest blockages that I see in those situations is that parents are often incredibly embarrassed of what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say. They're interrupting the lives of others. And that usually stems from some sort of core belief that is tied to your worth or your ability to be seen. So if others see me as unable to manage my child, then I am worthless, or then I am not lovable, or whatever it is. And so I always encourage parents to stop for a minute when they feel the emotion, because usually it's because it's their own discomfort that's coming through. And that typically is rooted in their childhood, because those first 5-7 years is when we create those core beliefs that help us to see the world and determine what the world's going to look like literally for the rest of our lives. And so a lot of times you can trace down, when you start to sit with those emotions, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now with my child crying in the store and I just want to hide. What is it?
It's not fun.
Breaking it down. It's like, I'm afraid that other people are going to judge me. It may mean to that person that it may be evidence that they're a bad parent, whatever it is. And so it becomes so intricate, and our society, unfortunately, isn't, because we've all been raised in this way, we aren't incredibly supportive of those situations. And a lot of other people do give you funny stares or say things to you that are
Or
unpleasant.
they make judgments
Mhm.
assuming you're a terrible parent because your kid flips
Exactly.
out.
Wow.
And really it was like, no, actually the kid's actually been teething and they didn't get enough sleep the night before. So they're already a fussy puss in the first place. And there's nothing I can do
Right.
about it. Like
Or
their
their
cortisol
kids.
levels are in overdrive and they need to be reset.
Right. And then this is the way children communicate. 100% of all of us have had some sort of difficulty, and we still have them as adults. We may just have the outbursts a little bit differently, right?
And I'm sorry, but like, I don't know if have you ever gone to a grocery store and flailed on the floor? Like we can't pull it off the way a kid can.
No.
I'm just saying, like
it's a different outburst though. You still do it. We just do it differently.
Right.
And
it doesn't look very attractive even
No.
when we do it either. If anything, we look like I call my husband an orangutan every time. So like every time he gets upset, I'm like, oh my God, like you're an orangutan. And he sits there and he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, have you ever seen an orangutan? They're like, whoa, like when they get all upset. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I found this perfect clip, this video of an orangutan getting upset. And I didn't save it, but I found it that exact moment. It was the exact video I was referencing to, and then I never saved it, and I can't find it again. So if anybody's listening, please find me the orangutan temper tantrum video and send it to me because I need it in my book forever. And the best part was like I remember this one time my son had come home and his dad had said something to him. It kind of pissed him off a little bit, and so then he was just like, ugh, and he like threw down his switch. So then of course my husband being he's a very like it's A or B, like pick one, like that type of thing. And usually A is like the one that you wanted him to select, and B was the one that was outlandish and psychotic and no one would choose it, so that obviously they would do what they were expected to do. At least he gave him a choice. But at the same time, he said something to him. My son didn't like it. He threw his like switch on the floor, but it was in his case, of course. And then so my husband just goes and he like picks up the, like the switch and like throws it in the trash. He's like, well, if you're not going to respect your stuff, then we just don't keep it or something like that. And then they both kind of stormed off, and I went and smoothed some stuff over with my son and be like, okay, I think this is what Dad was trying to say, but like the message didn't get across clearly. And then I went back to my husband and I'm like, so you just witnessed Kai being a baby orangutan. And I'm not really understanding why you're upset that your son is acting like an orangutan when he can't help that he's an orangutan because you're an orangutan. So where are we going to work with that? Where are we going?
Right. And I think that's the part that so many people don't necessarily know about, is that when a person, whether it's a child or an adult, is in a state of stress, we function from that reptilian part of the brain, that brain that's instinctual. It's like lash out, fight or flight, scream, or
it's that
hide,
fire burning energy that comes out.
Whatever it is. And so us as adults, the brain doesn't fully develop till our late 20s. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's wild.
Yeah.
So part of the brain.
Well, the skull doesn't solidify until 23.
Right.
So the skull doesn't even solidify. And then I think, is brain development solidified like 2 years after that? Or is it within the 23 range?
For women, it's around the age of 25. Our brains finish fully developing. Okay. And for men, it's a little bit later. It's closer to 30.
Okay, 30.
30. Okay. And so the part of the brain that takes the longest to finish developing is the frontal cortex. That's the part of the brain that helps us to think and reason and act and stop. Like, how we say, think before
impulse decisions, etc. Yeah.
We need that part of the brain. But in order to reach that part of the brain, we have to go through other levels of the brain first. So we all start at that bottom, whether we're having a thought or an experience, we're processing it from the reptilian brain, that fight or flight brain. And it's like that part of the brain that can reason completely shuts down. You cannot reach it when you're in a state of stress. So for adults, if you're with your kid and you're stressed out, you can't think. You're going to lash out often,
right,
without, even when you don't mean to. And that's why I feel like we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace as parents. But then for a child, they don't have that part of the brain. Like, it's so underdeveloped that we have an expectation for them to be able to think and act a certain way where they They cannot because
Right.
that part of the brain isn't there to do so.
Yeah.
And so then now you have two people that are completely dysregulated. One that doesn't have that part of the brain that can help you do the things like not have a meltdown.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
the adult who cannot reach the part of the brain of reasoning. So then ideally what we want to do is co-regulate both the parent and the child to just take a moment to chill. That
Right.
it's okay, that you don't have to figure it out right then and there. What matters most is to regulate our system so then we can start accessing parts of the brain that can help us to start thinking.
Amazing.
So that whole think before you act, that doesn't work for anybody really, unless
No.
you're in a state of alignment.
Right.
And so that's why alignment to me is everything, because if you can practice being in alignment throughout the day, when those moments come about, you're already going to be in a better space. So it's going to be easier for you to reach that part of the brain.
I love that.
You know that moment when a conversation really lands and you find yourself wishing there were more spaces where people could talk about life that open and honest? That's why we created the Capital Community. We wanted to create a space where we could explore the emotional and energetic pulse of life, share tools for growth, bring in new perspectives, and open the wisdom window during Soul Talks with Abby. If that sounds like your kind of space, visit us at capitalhealth.com. It's the place where growth keeps unfolding. At just $26 a month, you can join the community and explore your life with us. The Capital Community, where wisdom grounds you and awareness helps you rise.
I mean, one of the things I regularly pay attention to is like, you know, when my oldest son went through his teen years, like that was kind of a rocky road because it was our first patch with it, right? It was our first experience with it. And now with my daughter, I have a totally different perspective of it because I'm like, oh, you've got a half brain. Okay, I'm good. You know, and so my husband's like, what are you talking about? And even my daughter's like, why do you keep saying that? I was like, oh, because like your body's so busy developing all these other things that you're literally working with half of your brain. Like you're just like it's almost like you have a half brain. She's like, I don't understand that. Then sure enough, something transpire. She asks a question and she knows how ridiculous it sounds. Like she said it. Then 30 seconds later, she's like, why would I say something like that? I'm like, half brain. It's fine. It's okay. And so now we just make jokes about like adolescence and like what, and she's like, that's so weird. I'm like, I know. It's just a half brain effect. It's fine. But it also like in
perspective helps.
Right. And like, well, and now the other thing too, is like, you know, to me, I kind of look at it as a parent, if you were educated that your kid is functioning off of like a half brain, and they don't have full use because it's in development processes, why you get mad all the time?
Exactly.
Like what? Like they're like now you're just getting upset for like something that's not in your control. And guess what? Control's an illusion anyway. So like calm down. Like you just ride the ride and try to work with them. Everybody's all on the same team anyway. Let's calm down the feelings.
Yeah, that perspective really makes a difference. And a lot of the times, because if you ask the question, like, why is it that some parents don't get upset at one thing and another parent does? It's like, how do you like, they just had a whatever moment and you seem to be totally fine, but this one fell apart. And that's where we go back to, what is it about your personal experiences that are triggering those feelings within you? Because it's just a mirror reflection. Everything's a mirror reflection.
Yep.
Well, okay. It's not even about the other person, it's about you. There's something within you that's being triggered. It's like,
and let's see how we can deal with it.
Because then when you can go to that root of whatever that trigger is, now that behavior either just disappears and it just doesn't show up in your life anymore, or you just completely see it differently. It won't even bother you anymore once you clear the belief. It's literally magical to me. Like,
I think I look at it as super magical. Well, I don't think that's the only magical thing about you and your awesomeness, but I love, okay, I have to bring up because you have a little bit of an accent, and I'm hoping by now my listeners have kind of picked up on this accent. Can you give us a little bit more of your history? Because I'm aware that there's a lot of, you've become such an ambitious person because you wanted to surpass your obstacles and challenges that you were faced with. And one of those was being an immigrant and not speaking any English.
Yes.
Correct?
That's
How
correct.
old were you when you were you born here or moved here?
I moved here. I was
Okay.
7. I was
Okay. And
7
from
years
where?
from Colombia, South America.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things where I had this beautiful, gigantic family back home. And I don't think I was prepped much. My dad moved out here first. And then my mom, my little brother, and I moved out a year later. It was several generations. First, it was like my great grandma, then my grandma, then my dad, and then us.
Right.
But I don't remember much prep. I remember waking up one day and we were going to the airport and I was so confused. It's like, what are we doing? I had never been on a plane before. And
Your
I'm
whole
saying,
life is
hi,
about to change
like,
and you
what
don't even
the
know what's
hell
coming.
is happening? And I'm saying bye. And I know my parents did their best to prep me. And I think parents always do the best they can with the tools they've got. And that's the key right there, is that with the tools they've got.
Right.
Parents often
Exactly.
don't have any because we're told to just figure it out. Right. And so I hop on this plane and I'm in another country and I don't know what the F is happening. It's just like, what is going on?
You're like, this doesn't look like home.
No.
Like,
I was like, okay, cool.
Why are there so many McDonald's here?
And it was fine until I get enrolled in school. I don't speak a word of English. I'm in a room full of students that don't understand a word that I'm saying. I remember my first day of school, the principal connected me to 2 girls that were Hispanic that spoke Spanish. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I didn't even know how to order lunch. It's like, I'm hungry. Right.
Wow.
And so I don't know how to say that I want to get this kind of food, or somehow I ended up with an
Your
ice
friends
cream
couldn't
bar.
wait for you and help you at the
Well,
cafeteria, or
that
was it that
that
they were
was
trying to get you to speak English?
no, the point is that the principal connected me to 2 girls that spoke Spanish. That did not mean they were my friends. So they were actually quite mean and they bullied me quite a bit.
Oh God. Okay.
So I got bullied pretty severely when I started school. And so
because you're
I felt
unique.
very lost.
Right. But it's interesting because a lot of times why does somebody get bullied or teased upon is because there's a uniqueness about that individual that is something they have that the other one usually is kind of envious of or even jealous of. And then it's like taking that power trip over the person, and it's like that risk and control. Oh, they're new, they're fun, people will be attracted to them, but I don't want to lose my stature, and so then they go crazy with it. But it doesn't mean it's right. It's just it's hard to go through that, especially. And I don't like how just the assumption of, oh, hey, you guys speak Spanish, so you'll be fine.
No, yeah, I was not.
Really?
It was actually worse.
Yeah.
It actually was another girl befriended me. She didn't speak any Spanish, but she was a very kind soul, and we figured out how to communicate.
That's cool.
But yeah, I didn't speak any English. It was even, I remember, it's actually a core belief that I have that I was working through recently, because just like I believe everybody needs some sort of guidance and coaching or therapy or whatever it is in anything that you're doing. As a psychologist myself, so do I, because again, the blind spots. I as much as I can do things on my own, you need someone to point out the blind spots. And I realized that there's a fear sometimes of getting a message out in the world, because what are other people gonna say or do or think or be made fun of? Not just stem back to a time when I remember getting up in front of a class when I did not speak English, giving a presentation, and people making fun of the way I said things. Like my teacher, it's like, oh, did you say t-shirt? Ha ha ha. It was so cruel. When you're 7, that hurts.
Well, especially when you were actually really close to the word.
Goodness.
And then you were only dealing with the tiny little I'm not a linguistics person, but I do have an linguistics client, so she'll be pissed off at me that I don't know that. So, shh, Brielle, don't watch this. But anyway, I mean, that's when you're working on the whatever it is. It's like, I remember my son, he always said chocolate because he could never get ch out. And
Sure.
so he would say chocolate all the time. But the thing is that what we did with our family is when the kids said something cute and it was how they pronounced it, that's how it became in our house.
Mhm.
So chocolate has always
Adorable.
been chocolate. And like, and so when you get a quesadilla, you get a
Yep.
quesadilla. Like
Yep.
you don't get a quesadilla. And like, and so it even with my daughter, like it was Elfie-cent or Adergade. So
Oh, that's kind
even
of adorable.
she just now figured out that Adergade was actually pronounced Gatorade
Uh-huh.
2 years ago, and she's 15.
Oops.
Yeah, it is because she just would say it, and so she saw the word, and then she heard Adergade, and then she asked her friend, she's like, "Oh, hey, can you get me an Adergade?" And they said, "Did you just call it Adergade?" And she's like, "Yeah, isn't that the name of it?" And she's
Right.
like, "No, like she's like, they said it has a G," and then she came home and was like, "Mom, like, why would you let me believe this all this years?" Like, well, that's
Oh,
what it is to us. We always thought it was cute.
that's a normal thing in the household.
And we'll still to this day call
It
it
is
that.
still
So it's
adorable, isn't
fine.
it? No, I get
Yeah.
it.
Well, okay. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been going through, because you've been like on a really cool path, but really one of the reasons why the episode is called You'll Never Know is because you're really taking the initiative of following your intuition and living with your purpose and really trying to navigate and change and expand yourself into a new version of yourself. And what I love is that if you don't take those risks and you don't take the courage, the steps to go forward, you will never know what the possibilities are. And you've gone through, a divorce, infertility, mold toxicity, all these different avenues that have gotten you to a more holistic approach in taking care of yourself. But in addition to that, you're also doing that for like your work and your business and, leaving your job that you've been at for God knows how many years to do your
15.
passion.
Yes, 15 years of stability. So
Yeah.
I worked as a supervising psychologist at LA County Department of Mental Health, and it made sense in the time being, especially in the beginning. But over the years, I wasn't growing. I wasn't feeling the passion. What I wanted to do was to really be able to implement a system that could prevent what I was seeing, because I worked with all the kids that came through our program had some sort of abuse. So every single one, it was through Child Protective Services. And it was every day watching this, like, there's gotta be another way. Again, going back to that curiosity that I can't take this at face value. Now I can do it from a place of alignment. That's the big difference. Like, there's gotta be another way to do this. And through my own healing and becoming pregnant, that is how I ran into Eastern medicine and new ways of looking at things and doing things differently to support the brain and the body. Because we often think it's just about these thoughts and feelings and that's it. But I don't believe that. I believe that you have to create the environment for the brain and body to thrive as best as possible. So, for example, a child having a meltdown, no matter how many skills or techniques that you have, if that child is lacking GABA, which is going to help that child calm down, then it's going to be really tough. But the body needs certain nutrients and things to create that neurotransmitter to help the child calm down. So I started to look at all these.
Willpower can only go so much.
Right. And so when we can support the brain in other ways and the body from, nutrition, toxins, the environment, and that's what all my experiences taught me. It just made me curious about, oh my gosh, I didn't know that mold makes you depressed. What if I diagnosed all these people with depression that really were just exposed to mold? That's awful.
Oh my gosh, it would save a fortune in pharmaceutical
medication. Right. And so when I was in the county, I couldn't implement a lot of this stuff. I wanted to do something so different. And I just kept feeling like my value, I didn't feel valuable anymore. I felt like I wasn't living in my authenticity, in my truth. I just wanted to go and do this thing. And I started my own business like 3 or 4 years ago. And I thought, I can do this. I can manage it all. And so all of a sudden,
it'll be fun, they say.
Oh my goodness.
It won't be stressful or risky, they say.
Fine. And I thought, okay. And I did it for a long time, meaning working the 40-hour-a-week job, which was often more than 40 hours, and being a mom and running a business, which I had no idea. I was like, okay, I'm going to start a business. How do I do that? You know? And so it's this whole learning process and learning curve. But it got to the point where I had no life force left in me. Like I was literally getting to the point where even my own business and my passion and really wanting to get this method out to the world and getting it down to that pregnancy in those first 5 years, which is what I focused on so we can prevent all these things.
Right.
Even that was not fun for me anymore. And that started to worry me when I'm in bed, feeling anxious and not knowing why, feeling like something's so off within me. And I did anything and everything in my passion to find joy in the work that I was doing. It just no longer aligned with me. And I sat here going, okay, when my business makes this much money, then I'll leave. What I realized is that I couldn't get it to the point where it was thriving because I had nothing to give to it.
Correct.
I was so down to like little drips of life force. Literally wished I was on an island by myself, hiding in a cave. I don't want to get out of bed. And I'm like, this is no way to live. I can't keep doing this. And
well,
so
it continues that it continues that, like, you know, I call it like the lazy bug gene, right? You know, it's like, you know, and a lot of people, they get accustomed to living in that funk because it's just easier. Like it's so much harder to pull yourself out of the funk and to get to the next step. But at the same time, it's like that valuable, like, where's your quality of life? Or am I going to continue to stay in the funk where I feel like crap all the time? Or am I going to do the difficult thing, try to pull myself out of the weeds, but then I don't know what's coming, but at least I feel good. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a huge difference in that. I mean, I find ways within, and I think sometimes too within our careers, you know, it's like you start the dream, but I got to the point where I couldn't grow until I could put more energy into it. And it was like the dream, even though I might have been overtaxed and over burnt out, I never lost my passion about it. It was, I found that I needed to talk about it more to keep the passion alive. And that when I would find myself distracted in other parts of my like job, that I was taking away from my creative flow because I wasn't in my power. And so it was suppressing my power from my light from shining through into my work. And so I had to really realign where that was. And that was years ago, but also some of that also came to an additional purification in the last couple of months as well.
Yeah,
so
it takes some time. Yeah, I think too, when you are, well, some of the signs that I saw is like, okay, I'm spending a lot of time complaining about my job. Like everything else is great, but all I'm doing is complaining. And when you are trying to live in a state of alignment, complaining does not help you. It actually does the complete opposite. So the complaining, the feeling like I wasn't valued. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like I was valued anymore at my job. It's just a lot of systemic issues and just a lot of unfortunately toxicity in the workplace. And I'm like, okay, so if I were dating a man and he paid my bills and took me to nice dinners and vacations, and then at the end of the day he beat me, would I stay with him? Absolutely not. And I'm like, isn't that what I'm doing at my work? You know,
with your work,
because it felt like a beating to me. Like it just didn't feel good. And so the other piece that really pushed me over the edge was thinking, okay, why am I staying here? I'm staying because it's a security blanket, right? I have a stable paycheck. It's a very stable job. It's a government job that people stay for like their entire lives with a pension. Great, lovely. That's what I'm staying for. But then what does that say about me? That means that I believe more in the stability of my county job than I believe in myself to be able to get my
because you have all the skills within you to survive and thrive. And not a lot of people don't realize, like, you were born with all the gifts that you need to get where you need to go. I mean, that is where the uniqueness of us as an individual comes from. And it's like, and it has to do with, we all have a different purpose. It's about finding the purpose and then figuring out how to utilize those skills to get that mission done. If we're choosing that that's what we want to do. Some of us don't want to deal with their purpose and they just want to enjoy the life experience. Fine, go do that. But like, and that's all said and good. Like, there's no problem with that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, if you're complaining about your environment or your experience, do something.
Right. Because I think ultimately we're making a choice. I was making a choice to stay.
Yeah.
It's like, and even if I didn't go do entrepreneurship and really give myself 100% of my business and what I really want to do, maybe it meant going to look for a different job. Because that's one thing I learned in the county, is that there's this culture that makes you believe that when you work for the government, there's nothing better out there. And so people have blinders on, which is so not true. But if you talk to most people in there, because I did, they're like, wait, what do you mean there's more out there? No, this has to be the best there is. And it's just like an environment and a culture.
Does it have to do with, like, I've heard a lot of people talk about, like, they just have to make it to their pension. And like, it's like some people are just waiting to get to a certain point, and then they're like, oh, and then it'll be smooth sailing. And then they're just waiting for, but it seems like a lot of waiting to me.
It's
like
a lot of waiting.
Right. Like, hey, I had to wait 20 years to hit this level. Then I hit this level. Now I have to wait another 15 years so I can retire. And then it's fine. Why are we waiting to live our life?
Right.
Like, that's the part that always really confused me when it came to like governments and unions and different things. I mean,
like that. They have incredible benefits. Don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful.
Oh yeah. Really I had clients that had fantastic coverage. Yeah.
But the way I see it is, okay, yeah, so maybe you can retire a little bit earlier, or you have money that is going to keep coming until the day you pass. Great. But what if you could bring in so much more than what that pension brings you? What if you could bring in so much more than what that salary brings you? What if you are so much more worthy than what they believe you to be?
Because all of us are.
Exactly. And so like, if you want to stay there because you love it, because it feels good, because you're making a difference, because you're waking up and this is what you want to do. I'm all for it. But I was waking up miserable doing it because I'm going to get a paycheck. I'm like, this is no way to live. And so we still get to make a choice, and we get to decide, which is beautiful. And sometimes we forget that we can make a choice. And I think it's very easy to think like, no, this is the responsible thing to do. Going back to those first 5 years and the beliefs that were instilled in you, the responsible thing to do is to stay in the job that is very stable, that pays you well, that gives you all these benefits. And so we grow these blinders literally from the beginning.
And we think that that's all that there is. Like, you can't see the rest of the world. So what does the rest of your world look like now?
Oh, it's been really great. Well, I wake up with energy for a change. I find myself saying things like, wait, for example, sitting here with you, having this discussion that I think is so valuable, and whoever needs to hear it is going to hear it. To me, that fills me with joy. I'm like, this is work. This is fun. You know?
And I know. I spent years I delayed starting the podcast years ago. Now I'm into like third season. And we're into, what episode is this? 100 and I don't know. But like, we're in the hundreds now, but it was so funny because I remember it wasn't that I didn't want to. I knew it was after me. But what I found is I had a lot of healing to do with my voice first. And that was because I've always been loud. I've always been blunt. I've always been directed straight to the point. And so because of the suppression that I experienced of my voice from my external influences telling me to dial it down or a lot to handle. Yeah, I'm a fucking lot to handle, and I'm awesome. And I had to get to a place where I could be like, this is why I am the way I am, because you can do things and say things that others can't, or ones that want to, but like they have a hard time. And so, that's where it became after I went through a lot of my healing of my self-worth with my voice and owning up to it, and then starting the episodes. And then after I started episodes, I was having so much fun with it that I dragged a girlfriend in and started another one.
I love it.
And so then, and my developers were like, you don't need to do 2, just do 1. That's a lot. And I was just like, oh no, but it's fun. Like, and if I don't have these moments, I actually notice I start to lose some of my passion and my drive, because there's a purpose and a reason, and it's education and pulling people to understanding more about themselves, and also just sharing life stories. So I love that you are providing all of your energy and all of your work. And how do people reach out to you? I want to know, how do people reach out to you? I also want to know, what's it called? I want to know how people reach out to you, but I also want them to know like what they can get when they reach out to find you.
Absolutely. So my company name is Lumitot, Lumitot, comes from the word illumination, and tot from little ones, because the idea is that we want to keep little ones illuminated.
And that's lumitot.com.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lumitot is the website. Pretty much all socials are under Lumitot. Dr. Karen Molano at lumitot.com. So I make it pretty easy as long as you can remember that Lumitot. And what I've created, well, I have a lot of different services, but ultimately I really want to be that roadmap for parents who are expecting or have a child 5 and under, so that we can really intentionally wire the brain, intentionally build the architecture of the brain, and provide the environment for the brain and body to thrive, so that we can, not just the child, but the parent can really tap into that unlimited potential. So that it doesn't take, I'm 44, so it doesn't take 44 years to figure out how to find my.
I turned 40 in May, guys. Woo! The 40s.
Right. And so even looking at my son, and I'm sure you can see this with your kids, is if my son knows things at age 10 that if I knew at age 10, oh my goodness, my life would be so different now. And I believe that we can make the extraordinary. So those, they make these movies about these extraordinary beings, whether it be, the Steve Jobs or the Rudies, all these movies they make that are very outlier. I believe that the extraordinary can be ordinary, because we all have the potential to be extraordinary. We just have to learn how to tap into it. And if we do it literally right from the beginning, it is incredibly different, not just from an emotional standpoint, but chronic illness. Oh my goodness, let's reduce that. So really all in all, so I created different programs to help parents have a roadmap to get through those first 5 years in that pregnancy.
That's fantastic. I love that so much.
And I'm happy to hop on a call and just see what people need.
Yes, and you're so easily accessible because you care. It's like you care so much that you don't put some of the big walls that some other people put up when it comes to some of that stuff. But I really appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you so much for being on for my listeners and just spending time with me again, because we just always have a blast whenever we're together.
We really do. I am so grateful for you, and I am really very thankful for being here today. It really is an honor to have this discussion with you.
Thank you. Well, thanks guys for joining me today on The Capital Life, where we talk about all the things. Join me next Saturday when we talk about food connection. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow on YouTube and Facebook at Capital Health. That's Kapitol Health. Please share with your friends and family. The Capital Life is available on all podcasting platforms except Pandora, and you know why. Our goal on The Capital Life is to provide a safe place to get information when it comes to your health and wellness, especially when dealing with all of life's phases. Remember to take care of yourself, because you're somebody's everything.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Facebook at Capital Health. That's Kapitol Health. Please share with your friends and family. The Capital Life is available on all podcasting platforms except Pandora. Our goal at The Capital Life is to provide a safe place to get information when it comes to your health and wellness, especially when dealing with all of life's phases. Remember to take care of yourself, because you're somebody's everything.